So, let's get this party started. And 3, 2, 1.
From Hollywood, California, welcome to the 2003 E3 kickoff.
So this is the last this is before Reggie joined onto the company as the vice president of sales and marketing.
Nintendo of America's George Harrison.
Yeah, this is still in that. This is before they might do a Nintendo Direct, but it would be on Nintendo's own terms. Nothing's been announced yet.
Well, thank you, everybody, and welcome to Nintendo's E3 Media Briefing.
So, just to give a little context here, this is kind of this is sort of in a transitionary period between E3 being just a literal press conference for the magazines and newspapers and websites at this point that are attending E3 in person. You know, they hand out physical press kits with screenshots to use and stuff like that. And there's actually a Q&A session with the audience at the end of the press conference. This is before E3 became a big extravaganza aimed directly at the public. This was the first E3 I remember where there was a lot of websites that were providing, and this is, mind you, 2003, a lot of people are still using 56K internet. But at this point, sites like IGN, where this recording came from, is trying to provide recording their audience-taken, like, guerrilla-style like video of the press conference for the public to view. So it's this weird phase where it's really directed. Well, by the time you get to even 2006, it's more directed directly at the public. At this point, it's really more for the press specifically. And George Harrison, really nice guy, not as strong of a stage presence as Reggie the following year, really doing a lot to try to just between him and Mr. Iwata, really trying to argue the case that Nintendo even still deserves to exist, that they're not going to withdraw from the video game industry or become a third-party developer for Xbox and PlayStation. So that's a bit of the context for this. And this at this point, there's really the lowest point in the public perception of Nintendo during the GameCube era. I mean, more recently, we could think of the Wii U era as being, this really bad low point for Nintendo, where people are like, man, like, how can Nintendo make so many mistakes? Are they even going to survive in the game industry? If they screw up again, they're done in the console business. This is that, but even worse, because at this point, it's just been all downhill. By Wii U, at least they had the Wii to prove that they can come back. The DS, 3DS, they can prove that they can do strong systems. At this point, it was kind of just this perception that Nintendo was on their way out, and these were kind of their last gasps trying to justify their continued existence. So let's get started here.
We have a great show for you at E3 this year, and we're glad you could spend a little bit of time with us.
And of course, in the corner there, I'll be playing versus
Our goals
pinball.
today are to first update you on the state of our business and some of our corporate direction and initiatives. Then we want to share with you some of our perspective on the industry and strategies. Finally, we're going to show you the product, which of course I know is what you're all here for. And then at the end, we're going to answer a few of your questions, because I know there are many. Now, the news for Nintendo in this 2003 has been very, very positive.
In this 2003, not that other 2003, but this specific 2003.
Hardware from January to March. And as you can see, Nintendo gained 10 share points, 2 from Xbox. And
See, they're talking about share points and stuff like that. This is not something that's really intended for the general hardcore gaming public.
One of 4 titles when they purchased the GameCube. And it was fueled by the launch of The Legend of Zelda in March. Now, on a worldwide basis, Nintendo's installed base now exceeds Xbox by about 1.3 million units.
Yeah, they're able to do that because Xbox was not doing well at all in Japan. So basically, there's this... Nintendo's trying to position themselves so they aren't perceived as being third place out of 3. By looking globally and Xbox doing terribly in Japan, they could say that globally they're number 2. And no one would have thought this at the time, but going into from this on to 2004-ish, you get into the situation where by the end of this generation, Nintendo GameCube was within only a couple of million units of matching the sales of the original Xbox, which is not a position even the most hardcore Nintendo fans imagine they would be in at this point, 2003.
Look at the U.S. market again, and just look at March system sales. including Game Boy and Game Boy Advance and GameCube and all the hardware systems. In March, almost 60% of all the hardware sold were Nintendo systems. Now that's consumers speaking with their cash. The story on software is just as powerful. If you look at this chart, it shows you the type
Here come the charts. And by the way, we're going to see literal stock PowerPoint presentation assets being used in this. This is a PowerPoint. This is not an extravaganza for the public, once again.
Comes as no surprise, Nintendo garnered 3 of the top 4 spots in the bestseller list, with The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, and Pokemon Ruby and Pokemon Sapphire. So let's take a look at those key launches for us in March and give you a little bit of an update. Zelda: The Wind Waker has already sold over 1 million copies in just 8 weeks. Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire combined have sold through to over 1.7 million consumers. And Game Boy SP has sold through to over 950,000 consumers. It's an unbelievable hat trick for us in March, and an unbelievable
hat
success.
trick.
So the net of all this success is this. When you look at all corporate dollars in March, Nintendo's share was 39%, taking 2 points from Microsoft and 9 points from Sony. Now, at the same time, we're happy with the success, but we recognize that changes are needed. And many of these changes are already underway. But what won't change is our commitment to our core characters and our special talent in inventing and reinventing the world's best video game franchise characters. Now, we do insist that each installment of a franchise be better than the last. But our characters will remain true. Donkey Kong will remain a lovable ape. Link will never lose hope. And of course, Mario will never start shooting hookers.
Yeah, that line was met with applause there, but in a lot of the magazines and the websites and on the online discourse, that line really just felt like a... Because Grand Theft Auto was on PlayStation 2 at this point, later it would be on Xbox. It was not on GameCube, mostly for probably contractual and technical reasons, but there was this perception lingering from the early 90s when they censored Mortal Kombat that Nintendo just disallowed or disapproved of M-rated content, which is kind of ironic because nowadays Nintendo's known for doing the least censorship compared to PlayStation in terms of what they allow to be in games on their system. But there was this perception that Nintendo just had to abandon all of their family-friendly franchises and just focus on mature and teen-only content in order to be successful. And which is kind of ironic because at the same time PlayStation had, and Xbox too, but PlayStation especially, had tremendous success with lots of family-friendly platformer and adventure games. So that's the context for that remark.
So this year, many of those characters are going to be back, and they're going to be better than ever. But perhaps the best example of this show is Mario Kart.
And I'm playing this, by the way, on Nintendo Switch with the Switch Pro controller. I'm playing this on the Arcade Archives version of Versus Pinball.
This time, each player can control 2 characters. One character to drive, and one to torment their enemies. Let's take a look.
Yeah, so a lot of the music in these trailers has been muted in advance. This mix of E3 2003, 4, and 5 I made myself over a year ago for my own use. But I went ahead and muted and distorted a lot of this trailer music, because a lot of this stock trailer music, I mean, you have to think about it at the time, they made this music for a bunch of reporters and website people to watch on their, yeah, they made this for reporters to watch. This is a game, hey, we played this 2 streams ago. We played, no, it was the very last stream we did. We played Pokemon, what was it, the last stream? No, it was 2 streams ago. We played Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire. And this WarioWare, that was one of the first games we played on stream. I think it was like the 3rd or 4th game we played on stream after I finished with Undertale and Sonic the Hedgehog. Pokemon Coliseum, I rented that a couple of times, never bought it. I enjoyed it, but wasn't that into it. Actually, Pokemon Coliseum was the first Gen 3 Pokemon game I ever played, because I didn't get Ruby and Sapphire until 2005. Super Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario Advance 4. If I don't have, I have a bunch of credits sitting on my Wii U. If I do not have that game already, I will soon, because this game has all of the e-reader levels loaded into it, and it's not when the e-reader card accessory things. And the important thing to know about the e-reader card levels for Super Mario Brothers 3 for Game Boy Advance is that I thought at the time that those levels were just preloaded onto the Game Boy Advance cartridge, and scanning the cards for the different stages just unlocked them on the cartridge. No, the e-reader is a lot more sophisticated than I realized, because a lot of those games, like all those levels, those extra new levels they made for Super Mario Bros. 3 for the GBA version, are legitimately encoded into the cards. Those games do not fit within the ROM. Those are not on the stock ROM file of the cartridge. You actually do have to add those in via e-reader cards. And when they did the Wii U Virtual Console version of the game, they were smart and added in all of the e-reader levels. And a good number of those levels were actually extremely rare and only given away at events in Japan. So
that's just the start. We've got a lot of great stuff to show you today.
A lot of great stuff.
I want to first take a
I'm not making fun of him, but
Game Boy.
I never
Now, as we
played to an audience
Game
nearly
Boy
this big
Advance
before.
SP has made Game Boy more popular than ever. More than 13 million Game Boy Advances have been sold since we launched in 2000.
Yeah, and once again, like I said before, like here, he's basically just arguing that Game Boy Advance is not dead. Like, there's people really thinking that they announced PSP, that's it, Game Boy's done. They're gonna crush Nintendo in the handheld, just like how they crushed them in home consoles, and Nintendo's just gonna have to leave the hardware industry. So here's just making the case for Game Boy Advance right now.
But not surprisingly, once again, rivals have designs on our market, and who can blame them? But our strategy remains.
There was also the
unchanged.
N-Gage at this
A
point that was
devotion
not,
to
it was either
innovation,
out at this point or
high
soon to be
quality,
out.
and a wide
I
game
think.
selection, and of course, value. Now this year we intend to capitalize on Game Boy in another way to help boost our GameCube business.
Oh, here comes
This year we'll
connectivity.
be showing more than 20 games on the show floor that contain connectivity with the Nintendo GameCube. It's a very
I
exciting
like the
way
way he
for
said
gamers.
GameCube, but now the interesting thing to me about GBA GameCube connectivity, the Iwata 2, even in E3 2002, which we watched on stream in the past, they are really focused on the idea that this connectivity is going to really, because Game Boy Advance is popular, GameCube struggling, we plan for these systems to work in conjunction with each other from the start, and this way we could have it so that, you know, the GameCube sales will be boosted by the success of Game Boy Advance. And because the two of the biggest headline Game Boy Advance GameCube connectivity games were Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles and what was the other one? And Four Swords Adventures for GameCube. Those two games both required 4 link cables and 4 Game Boy Advances. Those are the only 2 games that did that, to my knowledge, and that alone caused Game Boy Advance GameCube connectivity to have a reputation for being very complicated and messy and expensive. And most, like, the vast majority of the games only needed 1 link cable and 1 GameCube and 1 Game Boy Advance. And so Nintendo probably envisioned that Game Boy Advance owners would own a cable as a standard accessory. So getting a bunch of friends together at someone's house with a GameCube and playing a 4-player game of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles or Four Swords Adventures would be simple. And then later on, we're going to see,
By sharing data.
what is it?
Now,
Pac-Man
another thing
Versus,
we'll be
what
showing
it
this
became
year
known as.
is Game
And
Boy
that
Play.
game had a reputation of needing 4 Game Boys and
We'll
4
launch it, in
link
the
cables.
NOA
It only
territories
needed
and
1
in
Game
Europe
Boy and link
for the
cable.
month of June. It's already launched and a great success in Japan.
Oh, and
We
that
think
Game
that
Boy
this is a
Player, that
great
was a
way for
fantastic
consumers
machine.
to play
And
their
at the
Game Boy
time, it
games
really
on their
felt like
TV,
I
and of
was
course, there are more than
reliving the
1,000
Super
Game Boy
Nintendo
games
era
already released.
on the home
The e-reader,
all over again
which
with
we
new
launched last
titles.
fall, is
Being able
also
to play on
another
the
great
TV
aspect
like
of our
that.
connectivity story. This accessory for Game Boy Advance allows consumers to use data from special trading cards to load their games onto their GameCube or onto their Game Boy Advance. When they load the games onto the Game Boy Advance, they can go ahead and exchange data then with the GameCube and extend their gameplay.
I mean, come on, you have an e-reader,
Next
a
slide.
link cable, and then a Game Boy Advance connectivity cable. It's like, even just with adding the e-reader onto this, like, so much stuff.
If we get through the e-reader,
I can see how it was
the,
overwhelming.
Overall story for Nintendo about the connectivity is a very powerful one. losing a few of our words and slides here. But the most important story, of course, of connectivity this year is the connection we're making with our partners, the third-party developers. And One Man is leading the drive to improve our relationship with our developers and improve the number of games that we can bring to our systems. And that's our president, Mr. Satoru Iwata.
Yeah, I had to mute here. They use a lot of, like, for some reason they use a lot of rap and hip-hop samples, like, from commercial songs to introduce, like, okay, we need gangster rap for Satoru Iwata walking out on stage, alright.
Next week, it will be 1 year since I became president of Nintendo. And in that time, a lot of people have given me their opinions on how Nintendo should change or not change. I believe we remain the company that best understands the video game industry, but also understand that in any business, new circumstances require new answers. And at the start of this year, Nintendo did face some challenges. The most obvious concern, Nintendo GameCube. It had not sold through the way we planned, and its reputation among some players was unfavorable.
Yeah, it was not easy being a high school senior in the at the lowest point of the GameCube, the high school student, the lowest era of the GameCube era. It's something that even among people who played video games, like, 'cause I guess my generation was kind of that point where it was starting to become more mainstream, where you weren't automatically like excluded from social life in school if you played video games. But I mean, but even among the people who played video games, you got made fun of if you supported GameCube for the most part, or defended Nintendo in general.
In the first half of last year, we didn't release enough exclusive titles. Then, in the second half, high-quality games like Mario Sunshine and Metroid Prime did not fully meet our expectations. Third, we had not yet demonstrated why connectivity between GameCube and Game Boy Advance was an important reason to buy.
Yeah, he was really convinced the Game Boy Advance connectivity was going to totally turn the GameCube around. GameCube did have a relatively strong turnaround, but it was not because of connectivity.
As always, there was yet another new competitor to our powerful Game Boy franchise. Beyond Nintendo, the market itself faces important issues.
Oh man, that is such a stock. That is such a mood. That picture right there.
With better graphics, more complex challenges.
Oh, these stock PowerPoint assets are so charming.
Was an open door to higher sales, but each of those openings is now starting to narrow.
He's already talking about the philosophy that leads to Wii and DS.
We already have graphics so realistic that you might think you are watching television.
Not quite, but well, it took my grandmother, to be fair. We were walking through a mall and
do not have much room.
There was a TV in the game shop playing Madden. And she's like, "Yo, that's a video game." My grandma was so impressed.
Love challenges that are more difficult, more time-consuming, and more complex. But how does these sub-busy people who spend most of their day working or going to school? Finally, as we witness the success of Vice City, our industry has to ask itself how much further we are willing to go. TV and movies found their limits. So will we. These challenges to both my company and our industry are considerable. But I stand before you today with a clear message. Of course, I want you to know that we understand.
I'm trying to get that hen on that little chick on the right
but
there.
This is not
Thank you, Bubbles from
a matter
Cuckoo Land,
of
by the way.
This is a matter of action. My real message today is at Nintendo, we are not waiting to act. We are already acting. the size of our existing creative teams in Kyoto has already increased. And we are also opening a new development office in Tokyo, our first outside of Kyoto. We also have needs for other kinds of games, ones that appeal to every kind of gamer and every kind of taste. For these, we are turning aggressively to our great third-party partners. We are active here on many fronts. We are about to see the first product of our Triforce partnership with Namco and Sega. This F-Zero game will play both inside and
by the way,
outside
F-Zero
of the
AX, apparently the full game file exists on the GameCube
You
mini
can download
DVD.
options to
It
take
just
with
wasn't
you to
really,
build a custom racer like no other.
Yeah, it just wasn't really announced.
Then,
It's not normally
bring
accessible,
that
but you
model
can
back
hack your
to-
way into
to
F-Zero
the
AX
arcade
within
to
F-Zero
race
GX,
against opponents.
from what I understand.
The talented designers at LucasArts have given us a beautiful exclusive.
Oh yeah, that's
Rebel
back
Strike.
when, yeah,
I
and
will
when
let the
Star
picture
Wars was a
tell the
major exclusive franchise in a sense for Nintendo.
And the same talented people at Factor 5 who designed this game are also at work on another exclusive for GameCube. You will be hearing more about this soon.
I forgot exactly what they were
In the
talking
fighting
about.
category,
It's not
Shin
Geist. I
compared
know
to
that. That was
Namco Soul
N-Space
Calibur.
Geist.
There have been many great versions, but you will see in a minute there is an exclusive one on its way to GameCube with a familiar new hero, Link.
Yeah, this is back when there was no sense of building up to surprise. They just said, oh yeah, there's going to be a new Soul Calibur with Link in it, and you'll see it in a minute. There's no, like, shadow drop surprise reveal there. It's just sort of like,
A
just
new
saying, yeah,
version
we're going to show you a trailer with Soul
has
Calibur 2 with
total
Link in
sense
it.
to expand our appeal.
I'm not into Resident Evil whatsoever. The last Resident Evil game I played was the remake of RE1 on GameCube. I rented it once. Back when it came out. Yeah, 2000X. I remember this was causing a lot of waves, though. I didn't see this video at the time. Well, actually, I did later on,
I'm
but...
Shinji Mikami. Recent rumors would suggest I have been fired.
Yeah, I remember the rumors
But
that
I
he
assure
supposedly
you,
got fired.
I am still happily working at Capcom. Most unfortunately, I am unable to attend E3 this year because I am so busy working hard on Resident Evil 4. Development of Resident Evil 4 exclusively for GameCube is proceeding very
Well, it
smoothly.
launched exclusively. It ended up coming to
you should
PS2 and
all
GameCube
be
like
looking
a
forward
year
to it.
later or something like that.
Beautiful Joe and Killer 7
It does.
coming along smoothly. They are so original. They will blow your mind. And one more thing, Resident Evil 4 will be scary than ever before. Don't pee your pants.
Yeah, I can't. I understand if I remember correctly, this game got some kind of significant rebuild or reimagining compared to what they eventually released, and yeah, Mecha Kong, thanks for chiming in. But exclusively for GameCube, PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5, Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, Wii, iOS, Android, Fairchild Channel F, RCA Studio 2, Watara Supervision, Game Theory Admiral, Mega Duck, Watara Supervision. Did I already mention that one? The Exidy Sorcerer. I'm running out of systems to think of. Super Cassette Vision. I can't think of any more. Yeah,
Our
PC and
development
VR.
are reaching around the world.
Yeah, hey, Mecha Kong. Yeah, I'm doing. This is gonna be a bit of a longer stream. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna go through all the way to 2008.
Called N-Space. They are great developers.
Oh yeah, and it was also on the Zebo.
ready to
Oh my
build
gosh. Geist was... This game didn't make waves, but just the idea that Nintendo would publish a first-person shooter, that alone was enough to make a certain amount of news at the time. Because it was seen, Nintendo publishing a game like this was seen as like a radical expansion of what Nintendo was willing to publish themselves.
Collaboration with Nintendo. In this frightening game, the spirit of your character invisibly moves to inhabit others, a true out-of-body experience.
No, when they did the first trailer for Mario Odyssey that revealed the what became known as the capture mechanic, I called it, oh my gosh, it's Super Mario Geist. I never played this, but I know the concept was always interesting to me. This seems a little louder than the rest of my stuff. This trailer seems a bit louder. These old videos from like 2003, 4, 5, these do not have the best volume, so I actually have my volume cranked all the way. Oh, I'm going to crank it back up now. Yeah, the volume is actually maxed out both within YouTube and in my broadcast software. So I can't, there's no way for me to make it any louder. I was doing a lot of testing for this. And doing the layout that lets me play the game, like that lets me play Versus Pinball and watch the video on the same monitor is very complicated, but I'm very happy with what I did. Oh yeah, this is the first Final Fantasy to a game to appear on Nintendo since Final Fantasy 3 or 6 on the Super Nintendo back in the early 90s. I don't know why. I'm turning down these trailers. The trailers, like the music isn't balanced good. Yeah, they recently re-released this on Switch, but I only played this game once at a friend's house. We actually had a GameCube for... Actually, we were playing this for a while, and then when we did, somehow I wasn't in this because I didn't have FF Tactics, but they were playing Final Fantasy Tactics. One person was playing on GameCube, and then they were playing with other players using Game Boy Advance. There was at least one other person. So it was interesting. Do I have Final Fantasy Tactics for GBA? Do I have that on the Wii Virtual Console? I think I do. Or I should. I have at least I have $100 on the Wii U I haven't spent on it, and I have to add some more before that service goes offline entirely.
To create games for all ages, all nationalities, and all tastes. But of course, the work of all our partners must be matched by things that are new and attractive from Nintendo itself. So I have asked one of our developers to come out and show you a couple of things. You might know him. He is now in his 26th year at Nintendo. Please welcome Mr. Shigeru Miyamoto.
Oh wow. Okay, hold on. We got time to do some math. Okay. Okay. Okay, 20, 22. Yeah, as of 2022, Miyamoto has been at Nintendo for 45 years.
The Wind Waker. And I hope to do the same this year with what I am about to show you. All of you who are here this morning are quite lucky. Again this year, I'd like to ask my good friend from NOA and one of the best translators I know, Bill Toinen.
Hey, we get to see young Bill Trinan. Oh, look at little Bill. Oh my gosh. And yes, I have to have my fan and AC turned off. So excuse me, I have to wipe my forehead every once in a while. Because that stuff is way too loud for my microphone.
Allow me to introduce the first of these, a longtime friend of mine from Electronic Arts, Mr. Will Wright.
Yeah, imagine like the crossover of Will Wright back when he was still at EA, and yeah, actual on-stage EA coverage with Nintendo that's not like an embarrassing, bizarre stab in the back like E3 2013. But no, was E3 2012? Yeah, no, it was 2011. That was 2011 with the reveal of the week. Yeah, I think this is before the Sims 2 even came out.
In 75 countries around the world to 25 million users.
いまだに僕らと付き合ってくれることを非常に感謝して
Despite his newfound fame, I'm happy to say that Will is still willing to work with a guy like me.
で今度ね、やっぱり10年ぶりに仕事ができるんでとても
This
僕は
is
喜んで
our
ま
first
す
project together in about 10 years,
で今度、シムズのゲームキューブとゲームボーイアドバンス
and we've actually decided to make a version of The Sims that is going to connect gameplay between the Nintendo GameCube and the Game Boy Advance.
今日はちょっと自分で
I hope you've come here to tell us a little bit more about that today, Will.
Yes, thank you. And I'll always answer your phone calls. Last year we released The Sims on the GameCube, and we were very pleased with the results of it. Now we're ready to take the next step with it. When we saw the innovative plans that Nintendo had for the GameCube to Game Boy Advance connectivity, we thought about it and we thought this could work really well for The Sims. So now we're developing 2 new
Yeah,
versions
I
of The Sims
forgot.
as a
It's
result.
easy. I mean, I say this every
First,
time I
we're
watch
launching
this,
a
which
new,
is not that
more
often,
expensive
but
version on the GameCube,
yeah, that
which
there
you
was
can see
a
tomorrow on the show floor.
an onstage
And secondly, we're doing a
discussion of
completely
The
redesigned
Sims at a
version of
Nintendo
Sims,
E3. That's something that
specifically for
you
the Game
never
Boy Advance.
think of nowadays.
This is going to be the first time that we've taken any one of our sim games to a handheld gaming platform. Both of these will be complete standalone games, but when you connect the two, there'll be a host of new features enabled on both sides. New levels will appear both in the GameCube neighborhood and on the Game Boy Advance town. Sims can hop across from one system to the other, either for short visits or to take up permanent residence. And GameCube Sims that entered the Game Boy Advance can play 10 action-oriented
You called
mini-games
it Game
to
Boy
learn money and
Advanced.
skills that they can bring back to them to the GameCube. Players can also use the Game Boy Advance as kind of a transportation system. They can hop onto the Game Boy Advance, move to another GameCube, bring it to your friend's
He keeps
house.
calling the system Game
And
Boy
finally, when you
Advanced.
connect
I
two Game Boy
only
Advance
thought
versions of The Sims together, you can play
parents
kind
of a certain age would
action-oriented
do things like
bidding,
that.
auction game to win you objects on the GameCube. So I'm really excited that we have this opportunity to work with Nintendo and move the Sims franchise into a new direction. Thank you very much.
ありがとう
Thank you, Will.
今日はね、ウィルさんをはじめとして、エレクトロニックアーツのいろんな才能のあ
At
る
Nintendo, you know, we're really happy to be working not only with you, Will, but with all the talented teams at EA.
ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。
ウィルさんが今退場する前に、
Now, before Will leaves,
EA の理科テロ
we'd actually like EA President John Riccatello to introduce to us on video some of the GameCube and connectivity titles we can expect to see from EA in the near future.
それを見てみましょうか。
Let's take a look.
This year, you're going to see EA's best titles on the Nintendo GameCube. You'll see Madden, but that's obvious. But you're also going to see Medal of Honor. Lord of the
I might have.
Rings,
If this
Bond.
song is what I think it is, I think I'm
Nintendo
probably
GameCube
gonna
is
mute
not for
the
kids or just kids.
the video feed in a
Teens and
minute.
young adults are going to love it.
Because I know this is definitely a commercial song. I'm for some. Okay. Never mind. I did it. I got ahead of me. It's that song. I don't know who it's by. I got mad skills. I will get wild. I will get wild. I will get wild. It's that song, and I don't. Yeah. So I muted these myself preemptively, and then for the later Nintendo E3 stuff, that is on. We're gonna be watching that. The versions on. That are up by a guy, someone called Mr. King Boo on YouTube, who also went ahead and muted all of the copyrighted music. So like when there's a Glee, like when they do like not Glee, that's Konami. When they do the Just Dance segment in like E3 2012 or whatever, they mute all that for us, so I don't have to go through and manually mute it all. But we're ending at 2008 today, so.
ありがとう、ウィルさん。
Thank you very much, Will.
さて、去年僕このステー
Now,
ジでゲームボーイアドバンス
last year on this stage, we had a 4-player Legend of Zelda 4 Swords
放
competition.
送で遊んだんですけどね、一緒に。今年はそのフォーソードをゲームキュー
Actually,
ブ用に改良して
we've made some improvements to 4
ゲーム
Swords
キューブならではの
by adding elements that can only be achieved on Nintendo GameCube.
でゲームボーイとゲームキューブの
There's a-
新しいコネクティビティの
Yeah, I
世界
think
brand new
this is going to be the
connectivity
reveal of Four
Let me show it
Swords
to you.
Adventures. This did not go over especially
まず
well.
4台のゲーム
First
ボー
in
イを
this
使うん
game,
ですね。
you're going to connect 4 Game Boy
4人
Advance
のプレイヤーは
systems
そ
to the
れぞれ
Nintendo
の、
GameCube.
ゲームボーイアドバンスを持ちます。
4 players will play this game watching both the TV screen
で最初はテレ
and
ビ
their
の
own Game Boy
スクリーン
Advance
だったん
screens.
ですね
Let's start off on the TV screen, which you see in the center here.
で4人が地上で
Alright,
一つ
we're
の
doing
画面を
okay.
使って遊び
Alright,
ます
I'm just
So they're
paranoid about
playing
my frames all
all
the time.
together on this single screen.
みんな動くとこうズー
And
ム
as
し
you
たり
can see, as they move around, this camera zooms in and out.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, it was hard to. This had the same problem as the reveal of New Super Mario Bros. Wii, which ended. I mean, both this and New Super Mario Bros. Wii ended up being great games. There was just such a sense of uncertainty as to whether or not this was the Game Boy Advance Four Swords game that was in the port to Link to the Past, but just with GameCube stuff. Like what exactly this was.
And appeared on the Game Boy Advance screen where the gameplay continues. It looks like the second, the third, and the fourth links have all gone inside. It looks like that last guy doesn't get any treasure. So let's see, they'll come back outside here. And as you can see, there's a hole there that leads underground. So I think they can go down underground from here and again appear on the Game Boy Advance screen.
And it's kind of funny for as obsessed as they were with this kind of stuff on with Game Boy Advance GameCube connectivity, they didn't do a lot of it with DS and in quite this way, and they really didn't. They barely touched it at all on the Wii U.
And so then they move up above.
And honestly, like I was, from when they first announced Game Boy Advance and GameCube side by side on the same day at Shoshinkai 2000, I was always, even since like the Dreamcast with the VMU, I was so interested in the idea of a console pulling off and really flourishing using this dual screen concept where you have a screen on your television screen and the screen in your handheld controller, and having that dual screen gameplay. And DS kind of realized that to an extent. Well, Dreamcast tried, they didn't really blow up the way they wanted to. Game Boy and GameCube tried it. It didn't really blow up the way they wanted it to. But the limited applications I did appreciate. And then when it came, like DS kind of did it, was more successful because the two screens were right there. But on a home console, having that controller and your screen in your controller and then the screen on the TV simultaneously, the Wii U, I wanted to nail it, and it didn't happen. And then in Television Amico, before it became obvious what a mess that project was, like early on, when they're just saying their ideas and their plans, I was like, I don't know, but if they could do this, a dual screen home console better than Nintendo, I was all for it. If they take a more toy-like approach, you know. But and this is the game that Wii U was designed and born for, that they never put on Wii U, and it was an absolute shame.
And to tell you the truth, since I still haven't gotten Namco's approval for this idea, I've actually invited a rather important individual here today to try to get approval for this project.
Shinji Mikami? Not Shinji Mikami.
He's a creator who I respect very much, Mr. Toru Iwatani, the creator of Pac-Man.
Well, I was just thinking of, yeah, I mixed their names up. Toru Iwatani and Shinji Mikami. It's that I at the end kind of scrambled me to mix me up.
I have a confession to make. You heard what I said, right? I'm a huge Pac-Man fan. I had this idea for a GameCube, Game Boy Advance connectivity maze game software. Basically, I mean, I think Pac-Man is the king of all maze games. So I really got this urge to turn it into a Pac-Man game, and I couldn't help myself.
So basically, Miyamoto made an unauthorized fan game and is asking live on stage for official permission.
But since this is a 4-player game, why don't we invite Will Wright back out and have George Harrison come join us?
George he's nice. He's kind of, I think he's a little out of his element on doing this stage stuff. He does good presentations, but he's not like he's not a showman. Reggie, had the business acumen, but he's also a bit more of a showman. So sometimes, bless him, whenever Mr. Harrison stumbles over his words or whatever, or flips a line, I feel for him so much. I'm like, oh, that would have totally been me. But look at this concept. This is exactly what Wii U was built for, and they never went through with it.
So we'll have, looks like George is going to be red, Will is going to be the blue ghost, and I'll be Mr. Pink.
It was called Pac-Man for Nintendo GameCube.
So as soon as Pac-Man presses start, we can get... Oh, just a second. Tell you what, if I win, will you approve this project for me? Oh,
じゃあスタート。
okay, press start.
You're red.
It's been like, yeah, if it's good. I mean, obviously a certain amount of this is theater. And
Okay,
GameCube only
let's
had
go, guys.
3
I gotta
controller
win
ports,
this.
so they could only have 3 ghosts. But honestly, if the ghosts have human intelligence, maybe limiting them to 3 is a lot fairer.
Pac-Man leaves a trail behind him wherever he goes, so we have to look for that.
パワーストルト。
But if he eats a power pellet, then the tables will turn. Oh no! Pac-Man can eat the ghosts. He got me.
Yep, right.
ジョージもっとこう、
Come
逆の
on,
派
George.
手に
You gotta say more in English, otherwise people aren't gonna know how much fun we're having.
Here he comes.
どこに、
Where is he?
誰が。いや、ジョージが。
Wow, this is incredible. Looks like George caught him.
Wow.
So now what we do is George trades his controller for the Game Boy Advance to play Pac-Man in the next round.
次ジョージみんなで掴みましょう。
So now we have to chase.
And I only got to really be in
there we go.
a room full of people. I have this game. I have the Game Boy player. I have the game. I only got to really bring this to a friend's house and play it with 3 other people once, and it was a blast. It was amazing.
よし、やりました。あんまり遊んでてもあれなんで。今
Now,
ね、
unfortunately, we can't play this for too long today, because we do have
少な
other
く
things
と
to
も
show you.
任天堂が勝ちましたよね。
But it looks like Nintendo did win.
OK ですよね。
So can we get approval for this?
よし、じゃあ、
Yes.
承認もらいます。
Oh yeah, that's in the corner. That's me. I'm playing versus pinball up in the corner. I'm playing this on Switch using
ちょ
the
っと言ってくださいね。
Pro control, Pro
George, Will,
controller.
thank you very much.
中谷さん、ありがとう。
Nice game I could play without focusing without it distracting me from the press commentating on the press
So,
conference.
okay, I'm gonna continue with development of this. Okay.
で、岩谷さん、ナムコさんとはもっと他にいろんなプロジェクトやって
But
ます、
actually, I'm working with Mr. Iwatani and Namco on several other projects as well.
8月にはソウルキャリバー2。
Of course, we know in August that Soul Calibur 2, featuring Adult Link, is going to be launched.
Yeah, featuring Adult Link. Back when specifying, oh, you'll get to play as Adult Link.
And hopefully before then, we'll be able to launch
Because
Pac-Man
the
as well.
anti-Wind Waker backlash, even once the game came out and proven itself as a legitimate
Thank you very much, Mr. Iwatani.
entry in the Legend of Zelda Legacy, there was still a lot of backlash, a lot of hankering for a game with a realistic adult Link in it.
パックマン、そ
So
れか
from
ら
Pac-Man
ゼルダ、
to Zelda Four Swords,
それから EA のスポーツ
EA sports titles and connectivity
タイトルを
titles.
使ったいろんなタイトルを紹
We've
介して
shown you a very strong lineup
どれ
of
も新しい
gameplay
体
enhanced
験と面白い
connectivity
ソフトば
titles.
かりですね。
I think these are all.
And by the way, that did not
offering
go
new
over well with the
experiences.
general gaming media. A lot of people were like, who would have thought that after like 20 years of gaming history, Nintendo's death knell would die with, die at E3 before our eyes with 4-player Pac-Man. They're talking about like, oh, like Xbox and PlayStation 2 are pushing, forward into online gaming and high-resolution gaming, and all GameCube has is 4-player Pac-Man. That was a lot of the media coverage and a lot of the takes at the time.
小島秀夫監督です。
Please offer a round of applause for Mr. Hideo Kojima from Konami.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute. Yeah. Alright. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't... I'm overlooked that when I edited this together. Uh-oh. Okay, I got a game... Why is this running? Hello. Now I'm paranoid if it's... Am I frozen? What's going on here? What's going on here? I just want some kind of evidence that the video's playing. I don't know if... this is awkward. Alright. Certain elements of my broadcast software are reacting and certain ones aren't. Okay, come on, come on. Alright, so that, you see my pinball's running. Hold on. I just got it. Come on, please run. This never really happened while I was doing. Okay, there we go. Why is... I heard some sound, so I think... Okay. All right, we're back. Yeah, I think that was actually just them talking that whole time, and they just didn't cut away from the slide for some reason. I just can't. Yeah, for some reason the audio on the video isn't turning back on. Come on. Please. Oh, someday I'll get a fast computer like my old one that I started streaming with, and I won't have these kind of problems anymore. But did I just? No, I didn't. I definitely didn't mute the. Okay. Just play there. When we unmute, and then the next 30 seconds it should start playing again. So excuse me. Come on. Come on. Oh, come on. We've nearly an hour I've been on camera, and now we're going to do this to me? Okay. Yeah, there's not a lot I could do right now. My microphone's on. Can I turn on? Okay, so it's unmuted. Now I just have to wait for the video to start playing again. Alright, so I'll just drag this over a bit. There we go. And just wait for... There we go. Hey, we're back. Oh, for a second.
You will have 2 mission objectives. First, you're to rescue DARPA Chief Donald Anderson and the president of ArmsTech, Kenneth Baker.
That was creepy.
Secondly, you're to investigate whether or not the terrorists have.
Yes, this is the reveal of Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes,
and stop them if they do.
Which was a big deal at the time, because up in post NES, like this is the first time Metal Gear's appeared on a Nintendo system, not counting the Game Boy Advance non-canon spin-off, I believe. If I understand correctly, that spin-off is non-canon, unless I'm mistaken. I've only played I played about an hour of the first game. No, I played the demo disc of the first game from PlayStation Magazine. Then I played through about the entirety of the ship, the freighter scenario of the, that's the introduction to the second game. Not super well versed in the history and the chronology of the series, but... I mean, honestly, it's kind of interesting that they did make this a GameCube exclusive. For marketing purposes, a more obvious choice probably would have been to just put it on GameCube. I mean, put it on PS2, because that's where Metal Gear Solid, the first Metal Gear Solid, was on PlayStation, then Metal Gear Solid 2 was just on PS2. So they just decided to, I guess, put it on GameCube, and, I mean, GameCube needed the support, so...
You can't fight your genes. It's fate. I had heard that the Metal Gear project was scrapped.
Oh, you're wrong. The nuclear threat hasn't disappeared. The threat is more real than ever before.
Oh, boy.
Palco number 1 confirmed.
The terrorists are threatening the White House. They say if they don't accede to their demands, they'll launch a nuclear weapon.
Palco number 2 confirmed.
We were conducting exercises with a new type of experimental weapon. A truly historical
Silicon Knights.
Palco number 3 confirmed.
All those different things saying NGC for Nintendo GameCube.
Totally insane.
But the official, of marketing purposes, the official abbreviation was GCN, so it's kind of funny.
For launch.
It's moving. But how do I stop it?
Oh, didn't launch the ball
Nothing
properly.
can stop Metal Gear now.
Oh, I waited a long time for this day. That's good steak. Good. Burn me more.
Nippon game culture.
Yes, that's it.
New global conquest.
That's it. I remember. I've been waiting for this pain.
Everyone always wants to use the newest, latest technology.
Yeah, they had the Twin Snakes title even back when they first
Why are you calling me
announced
brother? Who the hell are you? I'm you! I'm your shadow!
今こうコラボレーションの説明をね入ったビデオでしたけども、今一緒に
So as you can see from the video, this is a huge collaboration for us.
作ってくれてる
We've actually got one other person here today who's working together with us on Metal Gear Solid, Mr. Dennis Dyack from Silicon Knights.
Man. I just gotta mute that until... Okay. Does muting the volume on this broadcast software make the video freeze up? If that's what's going on, that's ridiculous. Yeah, I might have to stop muting the video.
It's like very much working with Socrates.
Because
so this kind of
I hate that because
the most exciting
because this whole time the video probably didn't freeze at all. The fact that it just sits in that solid frame of the logo while not showing the person talking made me think my video froze and actually did not.
I think it's a relationship that's being bonded, and I really think it sends a strong message to the future of the future collaborations to come for Nintendo and Konami and the future of video games.
No, come on.
As you all know, Nintendo has been working on a number of collaborations lately, including Metroid Prime with Retro Studios in Texas, Eternal Darkness with Dennis's team in Canada. So we've got some unique experience and know-how by blending these strengths and these flavors of Western developers and Eastern developers into concrete form. So using this know-how, I think there's a lot that you can look forward to with this collaboration between Tokyo, Kyoto, and Toronto in the next Metal Gear Solid game.
Yeah, that's a nice nice bit of writing there. Going into the names of the three cities, all ending with that O sound. Why are these? Why don't they show the stage? Why are they focused on this slide?
There's a lot for you to look forward to in the latter half of this year.
And look, the tick, you can't see it, but the ticker's definitely going up. They just edited this such as that it just stays on that slide this whole time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so that last time I was freaking out, that might not have even been the video freezing. That might have just been...
Thank you, Mr. Miyamoto. Even after 26 years with the company...
Now he's at 45 years, believe it or not.
Creativity. And I hope that is true of everything Nintendo does. Our purpose this week is to demonstrate the power of Game Boy Advance, the power of GameCube, and power of connectivity, and power of our partnership. Let's take one more look at this power in action.
Yeah, but here's another sizzle reel that I think I already pre-muted. Thank you, past me, for having the foresight to do this. I mean, you do lose a bit of that early 2000s flavor, but you know, I'd rather... I'm not worried about getting copyright striked. I just want to have parts of the VOD muted. And while this is happening, I go check my, make sure I'm not dropping too many frames. No, it looks like everything's fine. I'm just looking at my stats because I use my browser interface to see if I'm dropping frames. I found that to be more accurate than when I'm using my broadcast software itself. Yep, so there's Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, which I suppose was not out yet at the time. I remember this game just being so... This and Advance Wars were just these two games happened to both be sort of... Oh, and there's Advance Wars. And speaking of Advance Wars and current events, I mean, we looked at some Nintendo stuff some old Nintendo Power stuff from before the release of the first Advance Wars, even before the launch of the first Advance Wars in North America, even before the September 11th attacks. Nintendo was very conscious about how they marketed the game. So that it will hopefully the Advance Wars remake of 1 and 2 even still comes out at all. It doesn't become like a Nintendo pennant chase for GameCube where it was 100% finished and ready to go and they just did not release it. Oh, that got a lot of cheers. I remember I had to mute that to get this whole section, but yeah, this is some of the first teaser footage from Metroid Prime 2. Oh, by the way, we still have not seen any content whatsoever from Metroid Prime 4. This is 17, 18. Yeah, 5 years after they announced it, we have not seen even a single screenshot or piece of concept art of Metroid Prime 5 or 4 or whatever. I mean, technically it's Metroid Prime 5. If you want to go with like the Zeppelin company's way of how they numbered their airships based on the number of ships designed, not the number actually built. Yeah, the game they're working on would have been Metroid Prime 5 because Metroid Prime 4 got canceled. And that was even more ironic when people who weren't familiar with Metroid Prime and Metroid having different numbering systems in terms of like the way they were marketed in the lineage. This game, I don't know, Enter the Matrix, I played this on GameCube. I remember a lot of people nowadays talking back on this, but I got exactly what I wanted out of it. All I wanted to do, I wanted to run around, do some bullet time shooting bad guys, some driving around in the cool car, and doing some bullet time fight scenes and dodging and shooting at agents, watching them dodge bullets. That's all I really cared about for a Matrix game, and that's exactly what they gave me, so I really didn't have anything to complain about. And I'm not big into relatively realistic action games either.
We entered this E3 with
even back then.
And we will build on it in the month ahead. As always, Nintendo will prosper as we move into the true mass market. Nintendo has never been more focused.
Man, Iwata was really all about that fish shake this year.
We will not retreat. Make no mistake. We are staying right in the middle.
Yeah, this is Iwata just making the case that Nintendo wasn't going to leave the game industry.
The successor to Nintendo GameCube is already in development. And this time, we will not give our competitors a head start reaching the market.
Technically, kind of half true.
Our way, and we are going to succeed. Thank you all. And George and I look forward to answering your questions.
Yeah, this was the last E3 press conference where Nintendo had it. Look, they just have chairs. They just come on stage and answer questions from the audience. This is the last year they did this.
Mr. Iwata. We've received hundreds of inquiries worldwide from the media in recent weeks, and we've tried to select some of the best that represent the most frequently asked questions to answer for you here today. To deliver those questions to us, we've invited Edward Williams with Gerard Clower Madison to moderate. So Ed, come on up and ask those questions.
And actually, this is something I saw this back in the day.
Thank you very much.
I had like a DVD with this on it, but it did not include this part. So actually, within the last year or so, when we watched this, it was more than a year ago now. But this is the first time I actually saw the Q&A session.
Get started with the first one for me, given Sony's announcement earlier today. But given the Sony's announcement of the PSP, what will Nintendo do to ensure continued third-party support for the Game Boy Advance, and what changes might you make to your strategy in order to maintain your leadership position in the handheld market?
This is about handheld strategy, so I think maybe Mr. Iwata should answer this question.
That's interesting. He's answering in Japanese, huh?
つい直前に聞きました。で、2004年の、年末に発売されるということと、それから値段も、何もまだ発表されていない。ただ、いろいろな機能を詰め込んだ非常にソニーさんらしいマシンだなと思いました。
Of course, immediately before coming here this morning, I did hear that Sony has indeed announced a portable game player. But I think the fact that that's, the launch date for that is Q4 of 2004, and they haven't announced a price point. But the fact that they have included all of these different elements to it and connection features seems very Sony-like to me.
今はマーケットのハンドヘルドのマーケットはほとんどすべて我々が抑えているわけですから、今すぐに慌てふためいて何もする必要はないと思っています。ただもちろん我々もさらに魅力的な遊びをお客さんに提供できるように努めていきたいと思います。
Now, because I think that we are essentially in control of the handheld market at this point in time, we don't feel that there's anything in particular that we need to be worried about right now. Essentially, what we're going to continue to do is what we do best, and that's innovate, provide innovative gameplay and new forms of fun.
The next question comes from Jeff Keighley with Business 2.0.
Wow,
if
Jeff
Nintendo
Keighley
continues to pursue its current strategy, which eschews media convergence in favor of pure gaming, does the company realistically think it can be the market share leader in future console generations, or is Nintendo satisfied being a small but profitable niche player?
It's a really thoughtful
that's
question.
A question I can probably answer. Actually, we believe that the further our competitors move away from pure gaming,
and the thing is,
capabilities,
Satoru Iwata, I guess, is within the next even within a year from now, his English, I guess, it improved to the point where he was known for speaking freely in Japanese and English dynamically, not just pre-prepared statements. So maybe his English, it wasn't quite as confident with his English at this point.
Technology industry analyst. Nintendo has tried to age up the GameCube by introducing games for an older audience. How successful has this been, and how much of an emphasis will be placed on this in the next year?
I think I can answer that question also. Well, people tend to forget that already of our GameCube owners, 40% of them are over age of 18. So it's a very powerful
That's something
audience.
people would not believe at the time, as far as the online forums were concerned.
Things like the Resident Evil franchise and many things you saw today, like Metal Gear Solid and others. But one of the things we can't forget, though, is that great games like Mario Kart, some of our franchise games, really do appeal to a wide audience. So we think we're adding to our portfolio, but still building on our strength of our core franchise characters.
Next question is from Stephen Kent, a freelance industry reporter. Has Nintendo discovered the internet yet? Will we see GameCube connect to anything more than Game Boy Advance in the near future?
Wow.
I think that's really more of an online or connectivity type question, if Mr. Iwata would want to answer that one.
Yeah, kudos for Nintendo for even fielding a question that harshly worded.
Well, the first point that I'd really like to make clear here is that Nintendo does not feel that network technology is incompatible with gaming. We don't think that's the case at all.
ただこれだけ多くの人が次はオンラインゲームだといい、いろんなチャレンジをしているのに、なぜ誰も大儲けしてないのかって考えると、やはりビジネスモデルの構造そのものに問題があると言わざるを得ないと思います。
I think really the fact that we've had so many people working so hard on online games for so long, and yet we've really failed to see a killer app that's really boosted online gaming the way we would have expected by now, really raises questions about the fundamental business structure of online gaming.
だから私は毎月お金をお客さんからいただかなくてもできるようなネットワーク技術の使い方はないのかということをずっと考えてまして、そういうことをですね、近い将来皆さんにお話できたらいいなと思って研究を続けています。
So we at Nintendo have been and will continue to research ways that we can use online features in games without having to rely on this existing business structure of charging people monthly for this type of service.
Oh, the good old days.
And we hope to be able to tell you all about something related to this sometime in the near future.
The good old days back when Iwata was like, we are not charging people monthly to play games they've already bought. That's ridiculous.
What are your unit projections by territory?
As soon as Mr. Iwata was no longer with us, look what happened.
It's really that's a business forecast type of question, so I think Mr. Iwata should probably address that.
我々来週決算発表を控えてまして、そこで今期のね、来年の3月までの販売予測をお話しすることになっているので、今詳しい数字はお話しできないんですよ。
Well, we're going to be announcing our final fiscal results next week. So unfortunately today I'm not going to be able to discuss in detail our goals for the coming period through March of next year.
By the way, for the sake of context, this was back when E3 was held in May. So it's a very important distinction because starting from 2007, it was in 2007 it was held in July. Then from after 2008 onward, it was held in June. Around now, as in June, mid-June 2022, as I'm filming this. So E3 used to be a month earlier in the year than nowadays.
This next question is from Edward Wu with Wedbush Morgan Securities. What is the outlook for console and software pricing for GameCube and Game Boy Advance?
I think I can answer that question. We'll start with software. We believe that software pricing can stay where it is with really great first releases on GameCube coming at $49 and the Game Boy Advance titles coming at $34 or $39. So we don't see any
34. I remember it being more often 30 actually. $29.99.
Software pricing, we've seen some erosion
unadjusted for inflation, of course.
But the overall dollar spent on software has been up in the first quarter. The question about consoles is one I'm sure has been on everybody's mind. Right now, we feel very comfortable with the Nintendo GameCube at $149 with a free game offer.
They dropped it to $100 in September 2003. Just so, yeah, they were sort of trying to hold out, but dropping it to $100 really kind of allowed GameCube to make a big comeback. All right, so, all right, hold on. I have got to stretch for a second, and I'll talk a bit about E3004.